video, I'm going to explain exactly why you might feel frustrated with a lot of the love and marriage advice that tends to circle around the Christian community. If you have been feeling disillusioned by what biblical commentators have to say about Ephesians 5 and the infamous verses about marriage that are in the Bible, I really encourage you, Christian or not, to stick around and listen to this video because I'm going to give a perspective that you probably have not heard before. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Janelle. I'm a wife, mom, and theologian who is really committed to living an exceptional life. And what I found is that being exceptional actually really means just doing the ordinary things well. So on this YouTube channel, I really talk about the things that are so important to me to do exceptionally. I hope that you'll stick around and maybe even subscribe. When I was a teenager, I was always really excited about getting married. And so I used to listen to, Focus on the Family and all these podcasts that would talk about having a healthy family and a healthy marriage and a healthy relationship. And of course, you really can't spend a lot of time in the kind of Christian relationship circles without hearing about the book Love and Respect by Dr. Eggerichs. Basically, the premise of the book, Love and Respect, is it takes Ephesians 5:33, which says, in any case, each one of you should love his wife as himself, and the wife should respect her husband. That is a Bible verse that comes after kind of a long chapter where Paul is giving instructions to husbands and wives and how they should treat one another. When I first heard this concept, it was first presented to me like this. So, the speaker was saying, okay, all of the men in the room, raise your hand if you would prefer respect or if you would prefer love. And the story goes, overwhelmingly, all of the men raise their hands for respect and the women are aghast, right? And then the speaker says, okay, now the women in the room, raise your hand if you would rather be loved or respected. And all the women raise their hands for love. It was like, oh my gosh, it was this revolutionary moment where we realized men need respect and women need love. It was this men are from Mars, women are from Venus moment. That's where we've been getting it all wrong this whole time. And another thing that was revolutionary about this was the fact that because love is supposed to be unconditional as Christians, they said that respect also needs to be unconditional. And I remember hearing that even as a teenager. And I remember hearing that and saying, something does not sound or feel true about that. But it took me many, many years to be able to put it into words. You know what brought me to be able to define what felt so wrong about that? It is this clip that I'm going to show you right now. So a former Canadian Prime Minister who was a politician for 30 years was interviewed recently. He was an exceptional man. He never lost an election and he was married to his wife for a very long time. Listen to how he describes what love means.
But I had married my girlfriend, the first girlfriend I had, and she was my girlfriend 5 years before I married her, and I was only 23 when I married her, and she was 21. And she died after 63 years of marriage.
You were together for longer, but married for 63 years. Can you define the word love for me?
Respect. You have to respect each other.
How do you define love? Respect. What's so wrong, in my opinion, about the women need unconditional love and men need unconditional respect is that it's not an either or. They are the same. What bothered me so much when I first heard about this concept so many years ago was I said, I wouldn't prefer love over respect. To be loved and not respected feels demeaning. And I remembered I said, no, I want both. If I have to choose one, actually, I choose respect. I want to be respected, but I want both. I want love and respect, not love or respect. Furthermore, I don't actually think love or respect for between two adults is unconditional. Unconditional love is something that we show to human beings simply because they are human beings. That is what makes the Christian message so revolutionary. This is something that I loved so much about the recent Mufasa movie that just came out. I went and saw it with my daughter. We had a little daughter-mommy date. At the beginning of the movie, anyways, I won't spoil it for you, but there was one point where the mother was telling the father of one of the little lion cubs, they were competing, and the mother said to the father, let him earn it. Don't take that away from him, right? Meaning let him earn the respect of actually winning fair and square. And I said, yes, right? Like we want to earn respect. We want to be beings who are worthy of love and respect. Now, as human beings, we are worthy of love, right? We are worthy of love because we are created in God's image and likeness. And again, that is what the Christian message is. We have to love one another. Love one another as I have loved you. As human beings, we carry this intrinsic value. There's like a baseline of a certain amount of love and respect that we owe to every single human being simply because they're human beings. However, we do not owe anyone the love of a husband or a wife. We don't owe anyone the respect of a husband or a wife. I mean, I can think of a whole host of things that my husband could do that would make me lose respect for him and therefore even lose love. We're Catholic, and so I truly do believe that our marriages until death do us part. There are certainly things that he could do that would make me lose respect, and vice versa. Right? And so I think part of what Dr. Eggerichs talks about in this book is this sort of horror moment when people realize that, the thought of losing, this love that's supposed to be unconditional, and that we should have that kind of same visceral reaction when we thought about just not respecting our husbands and not having respect for our husbands. And I remember reading that and thinking, I actually don't think that my husband's love for me as a wife is unconditional. As a human being, most certainly. But my husband's love for me as his wife is not unconditional. There are conditions, right? Like I can't be an abusive person. I can't be a hateful creature. I have to honor there are things I have to do, right? In order to maintain my husband's love. And those things there are ways that I could lose his love and lose his respect. And that's by being someone who is not worthy of respect and not worthy of the love of a husband. The only person that I expect who will love me unconditionally no matter what are God and my mother. And I think we as human beings, we need to normalize that a little bit more. They don't just get anything in life, right? You have to be the type of person who deserves and who earns and who is worthy of the love and respect of your spouse, right? And I think that we take something away from one another when we say, I'm just going to love you unconditionally. I'm just going to respect you unconditionally. What I love about that redefinition that Jean Cretien gave us, it interprets Paul's words in a completely different light. And it shows something that Paul seems to have known that we Christians throughout the years seem to have lost, which is that men and women speak different languages, right? I keep referencing men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but I think that's a really potent analogy here. Men being from Mars, their language is respect, right? Women being from Venus, our language is love, right? But love and respect are the same thing. And let me prove it to you. Let me give you an example. I was in college. I was not a part of the hookup culture by any means, but I was in college and I had lots of friends, guys and girls, who participated in that culture. And I remember often hearing men in particular say this. So, they might have a reputation for a certain type of sexual conduct, and then they meet a girl they actually really like. And the question, is always, as, teenagers, how teenagers are, we'd say, oh, how did it go? Did you sleep with her, right? And I heard this response quite often. They would say, no, I didn't sleep with her on the first date or the third date or whatever. I haven't slept with her yet. Why? Because I actually like her, right? I actually like this girl. So, okay, like is a precursor to love, right? I actually like her. So I want to be respectful, right? Because the English language is so limited, we only have one word for love, but other languages have many words for love. And of course, in the Christian community, it's very famous to note that the Greek language has 4 words for love, right? There's the friendship love, and there's the life-giving love, and there's the mother to a child, and then there's romantic love. But being that the English language only has one word for love, I think it makes perfect sense that respect could be added as a sort of layer of love. So when we think about someone like our boss, we wouldn't say necessarily, I love my boss. It might be more appropriate to say, I respect my boss. But actually, what are you doing when you respect your boss, right? What are you doing when you speak highly of them and when you are, respect, their procedures and their systems and are just a respectful employee, right? In a sense, you're kind of loving them. But we don't use love for these sort of non-romantic, non-familial relationships. I say all of that because respect and love look very similar in marriage. Ways that I respect my husband are by showing a lot of gratitude for the things that he does for our family, by, treating him well always, but in particular in front of the children or in front of other people, right? If I have, a disagreement or something, ensuring that I, either say it in a way that's respectful, if I'm going to say it in front of people, which sometimes is appropriate. I find that for me personally, it's important to model healthy disagreement in front of my children because I don't want my kids to grow up thinking that they can never speak up for themselves, right? And so I respectfully model healthy disagreement with my husband in front of my children, and he does the same with me, by the way. But if I'm like really mad, right, we save those conversations for a private time. Right? If you're liking this video so far and you're appreciating what I have to say about love and respect, please like this video and consider subscribing. I would love to give you more content just like this, and liking, commenting, and subscribing is really good feedback for me to know that this is the type of content that you like. So I really appreciate it. And so then you think about, okay, so then how do I show my husband that I love him, right? And it's kind of the same thing. Of course, love has more affectionate connotations, right? So it's kind of just an expanded definition. When you think about, okay, so how does my husband show me respect? It's basically the exact same thing, right? And those are things that I want from my husband, right? I want him to speak well of me in public and at home. I want him to, show me gratitude for the things that I do for our family and all of the things that, I think come, so naturally to us when we truly do respect someone. And I think that our relationships, our marriages in the Christian community would be much more successful and much more powerful if we recognize that love and respect are 2 sides of the same coin. If you are finding that you are struggling to, for women, it might be more common, I'm struggling to respect my husband, and a husband saying, I'm struggling to love my wife, that is a sign and that is a symptom that there is something wrong in the relationship. And it's not necessarily, it could be a sign of this, but it's not necessarily a sign that something is wrong with you. And I think that we hurt ourselves and we hurt one another on the path to holiness and on the path to greatness when we insist that love and respect must be unconditional. So how does this play out practically in a Christian marriage? So I will say that it took me a long time to learn this and a long time to figure it out, and I'm still figuring it out. My husband and I have been married for 8 years, which is not nothing, but it's not a ton of time, right? And so I'm definitely still learning on this journey. However, I will say that I think recognizing that love and respect are kind of these measurements of like the temperature of our relationship, right? How are we doing can really be measured by how much I respect my husband at any given time and vice versa, and how much I love my husband at any given time and vice versa. And so I think that there are really a series of questions that you can go through if you find yourself in a position in your marriage where you're just like, I just don't respect this guy. Or I'll speak in term from the woman's perspective because I'm a woman, so it's easier for me to speak that way. Or I just like really just don't feel a lot of love for this guy right now. Okay. I will tell you that for me, the first question I ask myself is, what phase of my cycle am I on? Because I will tell you that on the luteal phase of my cycle, so after ovulation and before the period, we are just not in the mood, okay? And I think that there's very, very good reason for that, right? We know as women that we are approaching a time of a lower energy, right? Which is during our menses. And so we feel a sense of urgency to get things done before we reach that point. But what it also does is it also brings to the forefront problems in our relationship that I might have pushed under the rug while I was in my ovulation phase, or while I was during, maybe I was in my menses and I just didn't have the energy to deal with something or to have a conversation that we needed to have. Or maybe I was in my ovulation phase and I was just so in love with my husband that I was like, oh, I don't care, I'll let things slide, right? The luteal phase is actually really helpful because it brings to light and brings to the surface things that I'm like, okay, I'm done letting things slide. I'm not in the mood. This is something that really annoys me or really bothers me, and we need to deal with this, right? And it kind of puts me in a more practical frame of mind because I'm like, okay, I've got to get stuff done before I know that I'm going to lose energy again. So I will ask myself if I'm in my luteal phase number 1. And sometimes that means, okay, I'm just like extra annoyed right now. Or sometimes that means, like this has been coming up for several weeks now and I've been brushing it under the rug. Now is probably a good time to deal with this. So there's kind of 2 parts to that. Another thing that I will ask myself is, okay, so I've gone through it and I've decided that this is something that I need to deal with perhaps. So what is causing this? What is causing this lack of respect for my husband? And this is where you have to be able to be really honest with yourself, because is it my ego, right? Am I the problem? Is it my shortcomings? Is it that I'm asking him to read my mind? Is it that he's reflecting something in me that I don't want to see in myself? Is he, perhaps telling me something that I don't want to hear? So if I'm finding that I'm really struggling to love and or respect my husband, I have to look to myself first, right? Like that is what these first 2 questions are about. Is this, I guess it's 3 questions. What phase am I on? Is this something I need to deal with? Or is this something that I'm just annoyed and I can just let this slide? And then the third question is, okay, if this is something that I need to deal with, is this something that I need to deal with within myself because I'm being triggered because of my own inadequacies? Is it I'm being egocentric? Is it I'm being told something I don't want to hear? And then if it is, then that's something that I need to take to prayer and I need to take to my own healing journey. If it's not, right? So if it's like, of course, there's always things that I can do to improve and to change and to heal, but actually my husband also needs to improve and change in this area as well. That's when you take the conversation respectfully to your spouse. And then hopefully the 2 of you can work together to make the adjustments necessary. And then you also need to, in your relationship as women, allow yourself to be given feedback and allow yourself to have those conversations, to be approached with those conversations in your marriage as well. It really did change my life when I heard Cretien speaking about love and respect as being synonymous, because it felt like a validation, right? It felt like a validation to me. I consider myself as someone who is very dichotomous, right? I am extremely feminine, but I'm also very masculine. And I really struggled with this idea of love without respect, or with respect kind of not being at the forefront of my marriage. I actually find that marriages work better when both parties respect one another first rather than love one another first. There's a parentification that happens when you love first, respect second, that I don't actually think is healthy in relationships. So I respectfully disagree with Dr. Eggerichs and, much of Protestant Christianity when they talk about men's need for unconditional respect. Again, human beings have a need for, again, a certain baseline layer of unconditional respect, but anything above that, it should not be unconditional is basically my argument, because I think that takes away from kind of this heroic journey that we're all on, right? To be great and to achieve extraordinary lives. And I've discovered recently that actually most of being extraordinary is really just doing the ordinary things well. And that doing the ordinary everyday things well playing your roles in life exceptionally well. That is what garners respect among your community, among your family, and in a marriage. And I can tell you, to any men listening, my husband is exceptional. And of course, he is, a beloved son of God. And so he is, worthy of love and respect just because of that. But that's not the reason why I fundamentally, truly, deeply, to my core, respect my husband. Do you know why I deeply love and respect my husband? It's because he is an exceptional father. He's not just a good father, he's an exceptional father. He takes my daughters on dates, on trips. He helps me every single night. He is there with me. We're in the trenches together. We do bedtime together. We do bath time together. He prays for my children. He prays every day. He does a holy hour. He's doing Exodus 90, so even more so now. He is an excellent husband. He provides for my family above and beyond what most people would expect. He is a kind man. He is a strong man. He is a good son. He is a good brother. He is a good uncle. And he's a really, really good friend. Those are all things that he does every single day. And he's also a good at what he does in his profession. Being a great community member, right? Being someone worthy of respect in the community. I recognize that it's part of my role, not only as his wife, but also as a human being, as a child of God, to be an exceptional wife, to be an exceptional mother, right? And to really, ensure that I am becoming everything that God has created me to be. And I want to be respected on those grounds. I don't want to, of course, do I want the baseline level of respect, from someone at the grocery store or someone who doesn't know me? Do I want to just be respected as a human being and loved as a human being? Yes. The point that I'm trying to make here is that I want to earn respect, right? I think this YouTube journey is a huge part of that, right? Do I want any of my past 20 videos to go viral and to monetize me and to give me everything I need? There is an egocentric, childish part of me that certainly does want that, right? But there's also the exceptional part of me that actually doesn't want my videos to go viral until they deserve it, right? Until I've earned it, until I'm good enough, right? Until my presenting is good enough, until my editing is good enough, until the quality of the information is good enough. Why? Because that's the only way I'll get better, right? And we want to earn it. We want to, I think on a surface level, we say, oh, we want fame, we want this, we want money, we want all the things, but there's a part of us, there's the warrior within us that wants to deserve it, that we know that the true victory is in the hardship that we went through to earn something, right? And so I will leave you with that. God bless you all. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.